Here's another raunchy episode of Monday Movie Pickup. So the big thing this episode is that Scream Factory had their big anniversary sale. A lot of their Blu-rays were half off. Some of them were even less than that. They really cut the prices for this sale. So I took this chance to buy up a lot of collections that I hadn't finished yet. I had two other movies from the last episode that did arrive, so now the entire collection's arrived. I have everything but the t-shirt now. But just to start out, I will point out that I do have this Hammer Films collection. This is from Mill Creek. Mill Creek, you know, just the little company that could. Over time, they've gotten the rights to a lot of great titles. And, you know, what used to be basically doing a lot of horror compilations of public domain films, now they've been doing some serious releases, and as you can see here with the Hammer collection, a lot of the films unfortunately are put onto one disc, but this is basically the best way a lot of people in the States are gonna get a lot of these movies. The only reason I got this was because, you know, as you will see, I am finishing up a lot of my Hammer collection. I've been mostly focusing on the monster movies, but this set was for such a low price, I figured, you know, I should just buy this set because I already own two of the other releases. Of course, one was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde film they made, the Gorgon, and then the biggest reason I bought this one was for the Revenge of Frankenstein and the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, two monster movies to help finish my Hammer monster collection. I already owned the Universal set that had 8 of the films that they have the rights to. I also have this Horror Classics collection from Warner. It was volume 1, but that was the only volume they ever did. Everything else that they owned from Hammer got released through the Warner archive. And then I own, I mean, I'm not going to pull them all down, but all the different Dracula releases, all the different Frankenstein releases that either Shout Factory has done, Warner Brothers has done. And so I was like, you know, I know a couple of these collections also include other Hammer movies, but there's so many Hammer movies, I don't know if I can actually track them all down. As you'll see as I go through the Scream Factory sets, I now own everything from the 3 main monsters that they did. The Mummy, Frankenstein, and Dracula. I actually owned all the Dracula films already, but as you can see, I now own the 2 Mummy sequels that were released through Scream Factory. These have loads of special features. And again, I've kind of been confused in the past as to what makes a Scream Factory collector's edition and just the regular editions, as you can see here. I also have all the Frankenstein releases. Frankenstein Created Woman, which is a collector's edition. Some special features, but it doesn't look like it's any more special features than what you usually get on a regular edition. Like you can see here, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. I think this was the last of the Frankenstein movies that finally needed to hit Blu-ray. Remember when I was doing this a couple years ago, I was interested in seeing the Hammer films. Warner Brothers released Volume 1 of Horror Classics, ended up being the only one, but I got that because I was hoping to see other Hammer releases, but it took a few years and I wasn't sure if everything would ever get released. It's kind of crazy that at this point they did at least get everything from the monsters released, even if it's from all kinds of different studios. Then we have Horror of Frankenstein, which is somewhat of a remake of Curse of Frankenstein. Continuing on to some other Scream Factory releases, here's Slither. This is James Gunn's film. He did this before he did Guardians of the Galaxy, before he did Super. I've actually never seen it. I saw Super a couple years ago before I even knew who James Gunn was, and I've always been interested in seeing this movie, but I just have never gotten to it. Phantom of the Paradise, which, interesting fact about this movie, this was on my Amazon wish list for the longest time. This is actually the oldest movie that was on my Amazon wish list all the way back to 2014 when I first got Amazon, so this has been sitting for quite a while. I finally got it. I've been very curious to see this movie for many years, just because a lot of people compare it to Rocky Horror, and of course, I like different Phantom of the Opera adaptations, so I've been waiting way too long to check this one out. We have Dracula, Dead and Loving It. This is a very recent release. This was basically the last Mel Brooks movie that needed to get released on Blu-ray. I own the Mel Brooks collection. I own the producers. I think I only need to get his film titled Life Stinks. So I think that's the last Mel Brooks movie I need to get. That's actually released by Kino. But, you know, this one is often regarded as one of the worst Mel Brooks movies, but just from different clips I've seen of it, it makes me kind of think that the movie could be pretty entertaining. George Romero's Land of the Dead. So, not that these are really sequels to one another, but there was Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I own those other releases. Somehow I got a Dawn of the Dead release from Umbrella that was released years ago. You know, that movie is long out of print. But Land of the Dead was made, I believe, in 2005. So, all these years later, George Romero decided to finally make another zombie film. And I've never seen this one. I have not watched Day of the Dead either, so this might be a good opportunity to finally get those ones finished up. It's got a theatrical cut and an unrated version, so let me know in the comments which is the better one to watch. I have John Carpenter's The Fog. I have just about every single John Carpenter movie, but this is a weird one. I actually already own this release through the Scream Queen double feature, and this release came with The Howling. I bought this as a budget buy a couple years ago, probably at a Target or Walmart, but this was one of the only times that Scream Factory ever did like a re-release as a double feature, and it's all on one disc. It doesn't come with any of the special features, even though at the same time they did release a version that had special features, a collector's edition. I haven't seen Scream Factory do anything like this before. Maybe they did other double features I don't know about, but it was a really dumb idea to even have this release. So basically I have to get The Howling again, because then that will actually have the features. And to get, you know, The Fog, which is, you know, I was trying to get as complete of a John Carpenter collection as possible. The only way to do that would be to get the collector's edition of The Fog. This was a TV movie, but Scream Factory, very cool. They will do releases for TV movies as well, so happy to finally own this. And with that, that's every single John Carpenter movie that was released through Scream Factory. I don't have Christine yet, weirdly enough. I also don't have The Ward, and I think there's another one. Can't remember. It had something to do with, I think there was like a Mars movie or something. Some space movie I think he made, but I don't own that one either, so I'll have to get to those ones, but maybe at some point they'll get a Scream Factory release, so maybe I should actually hold off. We'll see, but they're pretty low price on Amazon. I have here Sam Raimi's Darkman. Even though I'm a fan of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, I like some other Sam Raimi films like the Evil Dead trilogy, of course the most recent Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I have not seen Darkman. I've waited way too long to see this movie. I've only ever heard great things about it, but weirdly enough, it's one of those movies that I don't hear people talk about too often. If I do, it's always good things, but it almost makes me wonder if this is kind of almost an underrated movie of Sam Raimi's. And then I have Teen Wolf, and its sequel with Jason Bateman, Teen Wolf 2. I know that these movies, my sister was very interested in watching these back in the day because we were fans of Back to the Future, and then we found out there was another movie that had Michael J. Fox, Teen Wolf. She bought the DVD set that had both films, and I remember watching them as a kid, and, you know, I don't remember anything from Teen Wolf 2. I remember the first one a little bit, but from what I remember, they were pretty cheesy, and I don't think had Michael J. Fox just been in Teen Wolf that his career would have taken off the same way that it did with Back to the Future. But then again, I mean, Jason Bateman was in Teen Wolf 2, which I don't think helped his career at all, yet he's probably an even bigger star than Michael J. Fox nowadays, so maybe Teen Wolf was the answer. Maybe that's the secret to Hollywood, being a Teen Wolf movie. And somehow this ended up becoming like an MTV show many years later. It's crazy how they come up with some of these reboots. I don't even know. I never saw anything from that show, but I don't even know if most people realize that it is based on a cheesy 80s movie. But anyway, I was happy to hear that Scream Factory did a lot of work to bring those movies to Blu-ray. But I will be back next week with some other physical media, because we must keep the legacy of physical media alive. And we must keep spending money. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.